a philosopher and a historian, if you will, at least by my own. That's how I look at it. So I wanted to bring a little context to this conversation. Thank you, Luana, for the opportunity to even do this. Again, as she always told me, being an honor at your event, the Black Devil is kind of sparked tonight from what I understand. So I just want to kind of play my role in what I do. I do a radio show, as he said, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Mental Dialogue talk show. And again, like to think about these things, right? So we want to put why should I get married in context. Let's go back a little bit, if you will. Let's go back just a little. So, 2350 BC, 4,000 years ago, the first recorded marriage. Now, they understand that marriage existed well before it was recorded within societies, if you will. 4,000 years ago was the first recorded marriage. Now, I want each of you to understand how you got here. I want to put it in perspective, especially for us as African Americans who have been, in a sense, brought to this country, if you will. More than likely, if you check your lineage, majority of us are probably from Western Africa. Again, people have different arguments about it, but again, let's get into the context of this thing, right? So each of you are here, more than likely, to put this in perspective. You had 2 parents, you had 4 grandparents, you had 8 grandparents, 16 second grade parents, 32 third grandparents, 64 fourth grandparents, 128 fifth grandparents. I won't keep it going. But 400 years ago, is 1619 is the date that they consider saying the first. Right? Well, 400 years ago, generations. So you ended because of 4,094 ancestors from 400 years ago. 4,094 ancestors is why you exist on this soil today. Now, if you take this into context again, going historical, and looking at around the world, so African Americans have a unique experience compared to every other culture in the world. We have a very unique experience because here's the difference. If everybody else go back 12 generations and count their 4,094 ancestors that got to here, generally speaking, the majority of other cultures, it was through marriage. That's probably not the history of our ancestors being brought on this soil and why your lineage got started. Unfortunately, when you go as deep as even breeding forms, they don't want to talk about their history, right? But either way, in this specifically in the United States, they decided it was cheaper to breed than to keep bringing them over. Southern America, there was more ancestors taken there because sugar plantations were much harsher, people didn't live longer. So they started breeding, stopped breeding, and because they bred us, that's why a lot of us are here. I'm just keeping it real. But again, for other cultures, it was through marriage. And eventually, as these 400s passed, our ancestors, up until about the 70s, they got married more than any other culture in this country. When they finally got the opportunity to do it besides jumping in the broom and keeping it a secret. It was keeping it a secret. So as soon as they could legalize, they would take those broom marriages, walk down to the courtroom and say, hey, we married. And for the most part, believe it or not, the way we look at it now, the way we see things now, 29% of our community is currently married. That's it. Every other race and demographic in this country is sitting at about 50%. And you hear all the things about marriage and the divorce rate going down. And we currently have the lowest marriage rate we've had in the country. So in a sense, it ain't just us, but 29%, we hurt. But just as up into the 60s and 70s, we were getting married more than other cultures, believe it or not. So again, I'm just putting things in perspective when you ask this question, why should I get married? Well, let's put something else in context. 4,000 years to first recorded marriage. Well, believe it or not, and you heard this word a lot tonight, and this is not to disparage it, but we gotta put something in perspective. The concept of love being as important as it is, and it is an important thing, but marriages typically only in the last 250 years was love such an important factor in marriage. I'm gonna read this quote from this book from Stephanie Kuntz, the author of Marriage and History, How Love Conquered Marriage. She said, parents historically control access to inheritance of agricultural land, but with the spread of market economy, it's less important for people to have permission of their parents to wait to give them an inheritance or to work on their parents' land. So it's more possible for young people to say, hey, I'm getting married to who I want. And what you hear in that is the economics of it, the legacy of it, and the word inheritance. They have to wait for an inheritance. So when you look through all different cultures, regardless of religion and whatever their backgrounds are, the marriage contract, a lot of times you'll hear people say, it's just a contract, it's just a piece of paper. But I can get in contract though, anything I want with you, the marriage is treated a little different. That contract is treated different than all other contracts that you may enter in society, in any society, whatever their legalities are within their society. Every culture treats the marriage contract a little different. Why? The inheritance of what's going to those children. So most societies did not ever want it to be easy for you to split up in the event there are children in that situation. Because every other piece of business, we could just go to the judge and decide, okay, we fought over this, we fought over this, then we split and we keep it moving. Right? So I just want you to put that in perspective. The inheritance, the legacy. So the word in that, and I'll get off this thing. Another key word in that quote was market economy. So at the end of the day, we always talk about economics is so important. And it absolutely is. The economy changing is why marriage looks a lot different today. But without looking at any history, we lose context, and that's how you get to 29%. You get to 29% because the focus has shifted so much to love that you forgot. People getting married for 4,000 years with the foundation being what's going on for the next generation. So my mother is my world. She's absolutely my world, right? My mother loved me to death. But many of y'all were born just like I was born. Once I got here, she loved me to death. But in all reality, we should be figuring out, I'm just going to use this example because you're right here in front of me, sister. But I should be figuring out, will she be a great mother to my children for this legacy I am required to leave, because that's what you just heard in that quote. Prior to moving to market economy, you have to wait for permission of who my inheritance would be, so your family had a major role in who that might be. And we still see it in some cultures in the world, but that is the history of marriage. So we basically, which we do with a lot of subjects, we basically thrown the whole baby out with the bathwater. And so with the new age and the market economy, and as that quote said, and rightfully so, I can get married to who I want. I'm not trying to change that for you, but if I just get married to who I want and forget about the foundation, which was I must leave an inheritance, how can I ever get marriage right when I'm only living on one part of it and have forgotten about the legacy? Now, marriage is love and legacy. I think the legacy should come first. So, again, think about the history. And the last example to bring this all the way home. Think about LeBron James and Puffy Combs. Now, what's highlighted about, a lot of us know his history. He has that school. He stayed married his high school sweetheart. So we love that aspect, but the ultimate thing with him getting that circle of friends that we admire, how he's handling his business, he's relatively conscious as an athlete, right? His wife, though, in what he's doing, all the money that he's making, he has a legacy to directly pass it down to, and if they stay together, the LeBron James name, the James name will live longer, because all of us grew up in towns and cities, I know I did, where certain names just carried it, right? I'm talking about, you can look at it from the good and the bad. Some cats, you do them for, oh, they can fight. Like, that's their whole culture. You have to live up to that. Other families, they were smart, or they was this. So LeBron James is leaving that type of legacy, right? We can admire Puffy. I've had a back and forth with a sister about, well, people that wealthy, they need to marry. And at one time I was like, girl, you know what she's saying makes sense. But I thought about it further. Puffy, again, I'm not Puffy, but I want to put the two in perspective. So Puffy, a lot of us remember how much he regretted the situation when they lost Karen Porter. He put it out publicly that maybe he should have handled that differently. He put that out publicly. And Puffy, when we saw him breathe publicly to a certain degree, right? And so Puffy got money. You seem to, his kids seem to have learned a lot of the business. They're doing well. But what if his sons follow his lead? What if they follow his lead? Puffy, we consider him rich. Maybe some of us consider him wealthy. But rich is gone in one generation. Wealthy lasts for several generations. But the reality is he has taught his kids, if they money will be gone in one generation too. LeBron, keeping that family together, hoping his children learn the same thing, now shows us the importance of what marriage really should be about. When you say, why should I get married? Please don't forget the legacy. The legacy is the foundation. The love don't go up and down from time to time. And even when it ain't the best, it's, I found somebody who I'm committed to these children for, that we're going to make sure they right. That's why I go and do what I'm supposed to do for her. I don't step out because I guarantee we agreed to this legacy, not this feeling that was so overwhelming alone that's only been around for 250 years. What I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have love prior to the 250 years. It just became to the forefront and we forgot about the foundation. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank y'all.